Hello and welcome to the Election Corner on One Man Think Tank. I've got free afternoon, so let's take a look at Joe Biden's poll numbers. Okay, so the real reason I'm actually looking at this is, for some reason, TYT, the Young Turks, keeps ending up on my YouTube feed for this channel. And I noticed a video called, Joe Biden's polling numbers are terrible. And since I just finished doing my video on Joe Biden winning the presidential election, at least my prediction says he's going to win at least 51% of the time, I was a little bit shocked. Maybe some really bad poll numbers came out. Joe Biden tanking, losing to Trump. And I think what happened is it was in reference to this Fox News poll, which came out, I believe, yesterday, that tied Joe Biden with Trump. And I think, well, I know there's a very big narrative in the progressive media I use that with a little bit of a quotation when referring to TYT, that Joe Biden is doomed. He's going to lose. He's this horrible failure. He's not even going to come close to it. Now, keep in mind, all of these polls were taken before Bernie Sanders dropped out. So, keep that in mind. But we'll take a look at his national polls, then we'll take a look at some of the key states up here. So, first off, we have every major poller coming in here. We have Fox News, Monmouth, CNN, CNBC, Quinnipiac, Economist, Emerson, and NBC News Wall Street Journal. And all of them show Joe Biden being in the lead. And all except one, the Fox News poll, shows him having dropped below 45%. Many show him with above 50%. Now, the presidential election is not decided by the popular vote. We know this. But it's good to know, because the more you're polling at the national level, the more likely it is you're gonna win more states. That's just how it is. It means if you had to bias a toss-up state one way or another, you'd end up buying it a little bit more towards the guy who's leading in the national polls. Now, Joe Biden's weakest point was in January when he was only winning by 4%, and now he's winning by a solid 6%. However, both his and Trump's approval ratings, support in the polls has dropped by an uneven amount. Joe Biden has dropped by about 2 points, Donald Trump has dropped by about 1 point. However, when we look a little bit more at the averages, we can see Trump has been consistently hovering in the low 40s, while Joe Biden has been hovering in the high 40s, low 50s. And what I think we're seeing is Joe Biden's poll numbers becoming more realistic, if I'm being honest. Hovering around 50%, but not really passing it. I've always thought the numbers that were showing him or Sanders or Warren or Harris or whoever you have it, beating Trump by 10 points, were a little bit overly favorable. And if we take a look down here and see something like following the YouGov tracking poll, which tends to skew more for youth voters, we can see Joe Biden's actually had an increase by about 2 points, but has been hovering around the same area. So we know the numbers are stable in that regular tracking poll. We know that Joe Biden's numbers are stable in the Harris-Harvard poll. We know that in the Fox News poll, Joe Biden has dropped a lot, but that's the only poll he's seen weakness in, indicating there's something that's probably going on with the Fox News poll. I genuinely don't know what just happened with my monitor, but we can assume, on average, Joe Biden's numbers are holding strong. So at the national level, he's actually looking quite good. If you had a candidate if this was any normal Democratic-Republican race, we'd be saying, this is Joe Biden's thing, and ignoring it, but because Trump had an upset in 2016, we now must treat him as though he's going to somehow gain 10 points out of nowhere and win the popular vote when that didn't happen. So let's take a look at the polls for some of the more contested seats. First off, Wisconsin. We barely have anything out of Wisconsin. And as you can see, Trump has been polling okay, and Biden has been polling okay. The best pollster on this list is ironically PPP, and they're biased towards the Democrats, so I'm not necessarily inclined to say they're leading. But you can see where I get my tilt Democratic proposal from here. Neither candidate's breaking 50%, but one candidate is clearly ahead of the other consistently. And also, once again, Biden's winning consistently. If we're doing people are polling badly, Sanders is also polling badly. I think what we're witnessing is Wisconsin turning more of a purple-red state than being a blue state. And there are many reasons for that, but for right now, Wisconsin's one of the few states that's turning away from the Democrats right now. That's just a fact of the matter. How about Florida? Florida is a state that Trump has historically done well in. As you can see in the previous polls, Biden and Trump have actually been trading the state back and forth, with them both ranging between breaking 50% or holding high 40s when they're winning. However, if you notice, Trump has a much longer-standing history of dropping below, and that's what's really giving Joe his lead. I'm still willing to say Florida's probably going to go Republican. I've seen the numbers Florida numbers end up being pretty wrong by about 3 to 4 points for the Republicans the past couple of years, so I'm going to assume Trump will still win most times, but to say numbers are bad for Joe Biden is to be a bit dishonest, because, as you can see, let's compare the Florida Atlantic poll. As you can see, while it's flipped from Biden to Trump, that was really a 1-point change. It could easily change back. We don't have another Univision poll, but UNF is basically consistent, except more people have stopped supporting Trump and Biden and gone to undecided. I think this is just a sign of the actual presidential elections getting started, and people aren't just going Democrat or Republican, they're actually going, okay, who am I actually voting for now? In Michigan, a state I have put as likely, I may want to move it to leans after some of the more recent polls which came out, or reviewing the polls again, because as you can see, we haven't had anything since, unfortunately, March. I would really like some April polling if at all possible, but coronavirus is making that difficult. But Joe Biden has a consistent lead, and once again, this is a case of, okay, he was kind of the Democrat, and has now switched to being the candidate. And once you become the candidate, people are actually choosing between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, as opposed to, oh yeah, the Democrat. I like the Democrat, he can be whatever I want, to, oh, it's Joe Biden. And plenty of people like Joe Biden, he's still polling well. And these polls were taken during, as we've seen in the other ones, a bit of a weak point for him. But he's still winning, and Trump has trouble breaking for above the lower 40s. And the lower 40s don't win you the state, ever. Unless there's a third-party candidate, which is probably not going to be likely. Pennsylvania. Biden is doing really well in Pennsylvania. I am mostly citing this Quinnipiac poll as being one of the more accurate ones, because I trust Quinnipiac a lot, I trust Emerson a lot, and Biden's polling really well. Like I said, we see the sort of early March slump coming in, but even then, Trump gets hit worse by it. When you are the guy in first, you just need to win the state, is how it comes down to it. And Trump having an upset in each and every one of these states is unlikely. North Carolina, Biden leads again. Fortunately, Florida polls, so Biden's numbers are a bit inflated, but you still catch where I'm going. Arizona, same story. You see a bit of a mid-March drop, but it also kind of affects Trump. I think this poll is a bit more of an outlier because Trump has overperformed in the Marist polls, but we'll have to see. We need fresher polls is another factor here. Arizona, I don't know why I just clicked on Arizona again. Minnesota, not for contention. Joe Biden's going to win Minnesota. I think it's just up here because we have polling from it. Texas, he's going to lose Texas. I'm sorry, guys, who are really going for the Democrats are going to win it this year. To quote Jon Stewart, Texas right now is a lesbian in a bar, and the Democrats keep hitting on her, hoping she'll turn out to be straight. And Georgia, if Joe Biden picks Stacey Abrams, okay, we'll talk, but I'm pretty sure we're just going to see these numbers through Election Day for Joe Biden. So, what's my opinion on the numbers for Joe Biden? He's doing well. He's actually doing pretty well, especially for all of the issues that have come up. The Me Too issue, the very sort of moderate, nothing will change lane, the coronavirus kind of semi-disappearance. He didn't totally disappear, but he did kind of go, you know what, my goal be one term of a guy who's not really around much. And apparently that's working for him. When Joe Biden's not there, this becomes more and more of a referendum on Donald Trump, and that benefits the Democrats. And those are my thoughts on the matter. If you liked the video, please leave a like down below and drop a comment. I'm always curious to see what the community has to say. If you wish to see more from the channel, click the subscribe button and the notification bell. And, as always, have a wonderful day.